If you are at any place relatable to where we were, we want to offer that hope and peace to people, because a lot of times the world leads you to believe just get a divorce, it's easier. And it is, but it may not be the right answer.
Welcome to Life in Abundance with the Gentrys. Got a new little setup. This was my idea, so these usually backfire. The podcast will be about 30 minutes. This is probably taken 45 to set up. And this was my call with our guy, Kevin. Bree was getting ready. And I was like, well, he's like, should we wait? I said, nope, I'm going to make this call.
I just feel like it's super awkward to hold a microphone like this, but I guess I've done more awkward things in my life, so we're going to roll with it. And by the way, Mark is feeling rather fly right now. He went to the grocery store today and got all kinds of compliments. And just so you know, if you give Mark a compliment, like his shoes, his hair, whatever, his first comment is usually, relax, ladies, I'm married. And so the response to that comment is so awkward, especially when it comes from a man. Then he's like, relax, I'm married. It's not that funny.
Not that funny.
No.
What are some other awkward things that you do?
That I do?
Yeah, well, that you've done other than holding the mic in a podcast.
For me right now, like being in my house during the day is kind of awkward for me. I'm still trying to figure out how to do this not working thing in the salon.
Even though you worked there yesterday.
I did work there yesterday, but in my retirement, I've been retired for 9 days.
Let's clarify
10 days.
You being retired, because most people think retired, you're going to play bingo, maybe pick up some cigarette smoking, pickleball, those kind of things.
Yeah, no, in my retired life, I'm definitely not playing bingo. So I run a coaching program, obviously, hence that's why we're here. And then also we run a shadow program through our salon where we have students who are in beauty school come in and learn. And this is just a way that I feel I'm able to empower other women and help them to exceed in their career or excel in their career much faster and further than beauty school offers you. And I've been there, and it is not a great place to be. Everybody has to do it, so they do it. And then once they're done, it's kind of like feeding you to the wolves, you know? Like, here's all this knowledge. Now I hope you can learn how to do hair. So for my shadow students, they come in and get hands-on experience working with extension hair. It offers a lending hand to my team, other stylists, all while it helps them learn. And like I said, they end up bringing back more knowledge to their school, where sometimes I'll get a call from school like, hey, a teacher wants to know what we should do in this scenario. And it's like, of course they do, because you know more about color theory from hands-on than you'll learn from a book there. So I love that Mondays are my teaching day. I'm there 8 to 4:30. Last night was 5:30. But I talk all day long. I run a coaching call in the middle of the day, all while we pump out 4 or 6 clients, all with extensions, just getting them hands-on training and experience. So Mondays, I don't necessarily do hair. I'm coaching and teaching and training while hair is happening. So that's pretty awesome for me to still be able to step into the salon space and do what I love and consider it retirement. And then Tuesdays, I'm learning a new life at home with you, doing coaching calls and just being in our home without our children here and experiencing life at a different level for us that we've really worked so hard to create. And our goal for this year is not necessarily creating like happiness, which sounds weird to some people to say it out loud, but create freedom. And what that looks like for us is giving up some things that make us happy. And hair always made me happy, and I loved doing hair, but it also became something that was formed like resentment in my heart that I was missing things with my family. And to make this shift and this change, we're experiencing a completely different financial situation than we ever have. There's a lot of fear and anxiety that sets in for me of what that's like. And I don't want to, the changes we may have to make because of that sacrifice are painful, but also at the same time, we're going to experience a substantial amount of growth going through this. And I know that because God is good and he always fulfills his promises. So I had it heavy on my heart that this is what I needed to do. And so I'm working through the awkwardness, if you will, of being home and not knowing what to do, or even if I'm going to be good at it, I'm hoping that I can take on this role as a wife and as a mother from a different angle that I've never been able to before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that leads us into what we are going to be talking about today, because you going into this coaching program, me going in there, we've had to make a lot of big adjustments in life and sacrifices. And the only way that we could have done this together is through working on ourselves.
Yeah.
So what we are going to be talking about today is when one of the spouse rises or they want to get better, and when the other spouse does not, what that causes, and then what also happens when both spouses choose to rise in every area of life or just in one area. And we're seeing that a lot with ourselves. Like when Bree chose to go in the coaching or go into this new hair game about 2 years ago with NBR.
It's been 4.
4 years, sorry. Yeah, wow.
Wild.
I fought her on it the whole time. I was not on board with it. I thought it was a waste of money. I was like, just raise your prices. You already have a full clientele. And she's like, yeah, but that's not solving the true issue, right? It's like making her happy, but it's not giving her freedom. And I was like, well, like, what are you talking about? She goes, well, I can raise them, $50, $100, but I'm still charging $300, $400 when I could be charging thousands. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. That can never happen. I was so negative because I wasn't living for myself. I wasn't growing myself, so I couldn't see Bree's vision for what she had. And I remember she told me it was $7,500. And then that's for the year, and then the time commitment and all kinds of stuff. And then she went to a conference, and it was $500 a month for 18 months with all these things. And I was fighting her the whole time. She left for this conference, and our middle child was 4 or 5 months old.
November, so like 6 months old.
6 months old, and at the time we were doing a house remodel, which we bought this house we're in now and did a 5-month remodel, and we're living at my mom's with my brother, and it was just tight quarters.
Remodel is like you add tile and
we did
maybe some drywall. We tore the sucker to the ground.
Yeah. We built a brand new house with really no plans, like just going, and we were way over budget. We had the kid. We had Selah. I shouldn't say the kid. We had Selah, and it was just hard. I made it hard. Yeah. And she went to the conference, and I made her take Selah with her because it was just like, I remember Selah was like, for me, she was a tough baby because I wasn't showing up how I should have. And I was fighting Bree, and she came back from that conference, and she said, okay, I'm going to remodel the salon, and I'm going to restructure the whole thing. And I said, well, we're already about $200,000 over budget in the house. You're going to take another $30,000 out. And I fought her tooth and nail. And then COVID hit. We got done with the salon right before COVID. And I remember it shut down. I thought my world was over. And I fought Bree the whole entire time during COVID. And she kept building, going to work. For example, we had a salon of 20 girls. Start of COVID in March. And by April, we had 2 left. 18 left, I believe, right?
18?
It was because we had 20 total, I think.
We at one point had 16 chairs, 24 artists, and then we shrunk down to 10 chairs and 14 artists. And by the end of COVID, I think I had 4 renters.
Yeah,
left.
but when they all left, in those 2 days, it was 4, whatever. It was 14 to 18. I can't remember what it was, but it was like that. And I was so doing what I wanted to do, and I was so emotional, and I hadn't worked on myself. I was drinking too much. I was doing things I shouldn't have been doing. And I remember that happened, and I was so mad that night. And what I did, I started drinking. And my wife laid in bed, woke up the next morning, and went to the salon. I said, where are you going? She goes, I have two new people that I'm going to interview today. And I said, it's COVID. She goes, I know. I found them on Instagram. And Bree literally was so focused on what she wanted to do that I could not, I couldn't stop her. And she went there and, of course, closed both of them. And all that to say that if I was on board, if I was where I am today and that happened, the amount of pivots that we could have made back then and how bigger, much bigger we could have gotten in my business too, in training and in the salon would have been huge. But I was such in the flesh and what everybody else was doing and thinking and saying that I couldn't get through it. And Bree just kept her head down and knew exactly what she wanted. And she was getting there with me or without me, with her friends or without friends. She was going there because she felt she was called by God to do this, and she knew that this was going to give her freedom. And that's what Bree and I have discovered in this coaching, and not just in the coaching, but in ourselves.
In our way of life.
Yeah. Like, we don't just coach people just to be like, hey, go do this. I don't do it, but, you know what I'm saying? Like, you should do it. We do it all. And we are very open and honest. We come on podcasts. We go on Instagram Lives. We show our life. And we show the hard times. Like, that was a very hard time that I was just describing, and Bree got emotional right now. And I get it. Because if you're around here, if you're around me, if you're around our family and knew us, it wasn't an easy time. It wasn't an easy time for anyone, but, you know, we were kind of like double whammy. And what I've learned in the last probably 8 months by hiring a coach and working with him and getting very clear about what I wanted. And I was like, I remember my coach looking at the group and said, you have to be doing this not for your spouse, not for your friends, not to be cool, but for yourself. Because God told you to do this. And I truly didn't get it for 6 months because I've never done anything for myself. I've never done anything because I wanted to do it. I've always done it because, you know, that's what I've always done, or my parents wanted me to do it, or Bree wanted me to do it, whatever it might be, right? I never truly just feel like, you know what, I'm doing this no matter what anybody says because this is what I want. Even if Bree says no, I'm going. And it took me a long time to figure out, and then I started going to the gym every day. I started stacking every day. I started eating the same way every day. I cut back. I didn't drink for 5 months. All these things started stacking up to where it got more clear about what I wanted. And Bree has always known where she wanted to go. So now both of us coming together and us realizing what happened in the past is the past, and we're going to learn from it, make adjustments, and we're both moving on and knowing what we want in the future. Bree and I both know where we want to go a year from now as a couple and also as
an individual.
Yeah. And so, which is very rare to find, because we spent 3 weeks ago, we spent almost 45 hours in class in 4 days figuring out what we want in 2024 in Body Being Balanced Business.
And, you know, for a lot of people, this is the time of year where you're setting goals and creating, you know, a path there. But for us, it was much more than goals. It's you're creating a lifestyle. I don't want to gain muscle. I want to be healthy and incredibly strong in my lifestyle in all aspects of my life, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, in business, in my relationship. I want to be so incredibly strong. And my coach put it in a way that made such perfect sense to me is, in the midst of the storm, I want to be a solid oak tree for my family, for my business, for my body, for my relationship with God, and not add to the storm, not be the tornado in the storm, but be this solid oak tree. And for the longest time, Mark was the tornado in my storm. And I was a hunter, a effing hunter. I had to go out and find 2 stylists overnight on Instagram, interview them, close them, and give them clients. I had to hunt to provide for my children and my husband and our budget that we overblew building this house and whatever else came about during COVID, things that we couldn't understand or plan for. Nobody could. I didn't have a choice but to become the woman to hunt, because Mark wasn't able to even mentally think of what that was like for him in that state. He could think of what he wanted, what was comfortable for him, and how he was going to live his life in that comfort zone, right?
Yep.
And for me, I didn't have a choice. So when Mark said, Bree, where are you going? And I said, I'm going to work to interview 2 women to take on new clients for me because the demand is there. I need the manpower and I don't have a choice. Are you going to go interview them? Are you going to find them? No. Guess who did? This girl. And I'm still a little pissed off about it if you can't hear it in my voice, because that was a time in my life where that sacrifice, the trade-off on the other end, was losing time with my babies that I'll never get back. And the reason why I am so passionate about this still is because I'm in a state right now with another baby, living through another season of life, if you will, where I felt like I was giving up hours and time with them. And I said, wait a minute, I'm not going to repeat the pattern. I'm not hunting anymore. I don't need to do that, because I'm now with an oak tree who wants to be solid in my storm that I've never experienced in my marriage in 17 years, been together 18 years. So for me to have that oak tree to lean into and be able to let go of the role as the hunter, if you will, I don't have to do that anymore. And I am being coddled and loved and held in this place that I've never known. And so for that, I'm so grateful in my marriage that I have this to lean into. So in return, the trade-off for me is that I get to focus on becoming strong. My mantra, if you will, this year is thriving for progression, not perfection, and having strength through the process. And it's so true, because what I've lived through in the past, I have chosen to not repeat. And that's what's hard for me with goal setting and people telling me they want to lose 20 pounds, like my video guy sitting in the room next to us here. But his goal was to lose 20 pounds. I'm like, no, your goal is to live a different lifestyle. And in the trade-off of that, you will lose weight. Create a lifestyle, something that's sustainable, not a number on a scale that once you hit, then what? We're creating a lifestyle that's going to be easily maintained.
That's the biggest thing that we teach our clients, and that I always struggle with in the health business is people want to come, they go, hey, I want to lose 80 pounds in a year. Okay, that's awesome. And then there's nothing that they did daily, weekly, and monthly that we measured to get them there. And it's like in relationships. That was realistic. In relationships, it's like, okay, men, I want to have more sex. Okay, well, what do you have to do to have more sex? And that was something that I couldn't wrap my head around when I was in the pit of doing what I wanted to do of the flesh. And it was like, I was just like, well, I want to have more sex. Well, okay, Mark, how are you going to do that? How are you going to have Bree become more attracted to you? And I couldn't answer that question. I couldn't do things that required me to submit and then struggle a little bit and then strike. I was always like, okay, well, I want to do that. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? And I remember setting goals a year ago, and that was one of my goals, was to have more connection with my wife, have it 4 times a week. And it was like, okay, well, how are you going to do that? And I'm like, I don't know, you tell me. And he's like, well, do you need more quality time? Do you need to go on date nights? Do you need to go on a vacation overnight? What do you need to do? And I was like, all of it. Okay, we're just going to pick one thing each week. Boom, date night, boom. And you plan it. You do the things. You don't have her do it. And I was like, this is stupid. And it's and then it's well, if you take care of your body and you show up and you do things for yourself and not for her, she'll find you more attractive. I'm like, no, that's stupid. So I'm like, well, I'll give it a shot. I went to the gym every day. I was waking up at 4:30. On Saturday and Sundays, I go to the gym at 6:15. I tell my wife, hey, this is my non-negotiable. This is when I'm going. And all this plays out. And 5 months ago, it was oh my gosh, Bree's finding me more attractive, wants to have more connection with me. It's what's changed? She's like, you're showing up differently. What would you say is the biggest thing for me showing up that time in COVID when you had the 2 salon meetings and being the tornado compared to now being the oak tree? What are the basic simple things that everyone can do, man or woman, by have a better foundation and being more solid?
Well, because of your patterns in the past, I couldn't trust him fully. I was in a place where I knew I had to handle it because I couldn't trust that he would. I remember driving down the freeway. I was on the 405 in traffic. The baby's in the back seat with my mom. I'm going down to this class in Dana Point. Well, at the time, Irvine.
However Bree describes the story, it was about 10 times worse.
I'm on the 405. I get a call from Mark, and he is screaming. We were at the point where we were getting brand new stucco on the front of our house. And I, of course...
We have hand textured stucco. Hand textured.
No, it's like beyond that, actually. I picked like the highest end. It's like the stamp on the house, the money piece. It's beautiful. And that was really important to me. So anyways, in this process... It's like the baby. Don't, like, nobody scratch it. It's like a brand new car, right? And I'm on the 405. I get a call from Mark, and he is just screaming. The electrician accidentally, or the stucco company accidentally covered one of the outlets at the front door, which was crucial. We needed it, and I think it had one of, like, the GFI things. Like, so whatever. It had to be opened and exposed. So when Mark mentions it to him, the electrician takes a hammer to my beautiful stucco that will shatter like a road map, cracks everywhere if you take a hammer to it. And he's just hammering the hell out of it at the front door. And Mark's like, what the? And just lost it. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm on the 405. I'm 4 hours away from you with a baby in the backseat screaming who needs to nurse while I'm still trying to produce milk to be able to nurse, to leave her for 4 days with my mom in the hotel room so I could take this class. What do you want me to do from here, Mark? He's like, oh, like just hung up, called me back, chewed me out, hung up, called me back, chewed me out. And this was my point, is I knew I had to handle it from the 405 freeway 4 hours away when Mark was standing right here on the property and could have handled it, but he couldn't get control over his emotions to even think logically to fix the issue. So for me on the 405, it was a quick, easy phone call. Hey, what are you doing hammering my stucco? Don't do that. If it shatters, you're paying for it. Blah, blah, blah. Ended up, stucco's fine, outlets there, everybody lived. But at the time, it was a crisis, and I knew that I had to handle it because I couldn't trust Mark to do so. So over the last year, as Mark has created these habits in his life to be more disciplined and more certain and more confident in himself, he's regained my trust, so that in the midst of the storm of this chaos of me embracing a whole new identity, not even knowing what the hell I'm doing through the process, it doesn't matter. I don't need to know, because I have an oak tree that I've never had in 17 years. And that all stems from the things that he has put into himself to build that certainty in himself, so that I too then can trust him. And so I know a lot of women live like this in their marriage, where they feel like, you know, husbands are making decisions and maybe like on the front lines, but really behind the scenes, you're kind of picking up the mess behind. And not all of our marriage was like that. And this is the thing, is Mark was a wonderful man. He just, when he went off the handlebars, and it made it hell for us. And it took sometimes weeks to recover. And then I'd feel like we'd gain a little momentum and then go 10 steps backwards. And it was like, why was that always happening? Because he never could do what he said. He never could stick to what he said. And I'm one of those people, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm so ruthlessly committed that I understand that could be intimidating and kind of annoying. But I'm so committed, I'm not letting up the gas, because I have one place that I'm going, and I'm not going to let somebody in a storm derail my plan.
And that was like one of my things I was most frustrated with you about, was that you were so adamant about what you wanted, and you were not wavering. And it would make me mad. It was like the weirdest thing.
But it was funny, because if I wavered, I was settling. So it's hey, I need you to lower your standards a little bit and meet me here. And I said, no, you can come with me if you raise your standards.
It's just crazy that I like thought that was okay at the time. Like it's now when you say it out loud, I'm like, that's fucking retarded. Like, sorry, but like that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like that is like, hey, you're so better that. Hey, you're doing so much better than me. Why don't you come down to my level?
Yeah, pump the brakes, please.
Yeah, pump the brakes. And it's like, no, everyone, or not everyone, but I explained this on a live the other day. The pivots we are making, me and you have made in the last 6-7 months, 99% of people will never make them in life.
Yeah.
Because it takes, okay, like not settling for good. It takes getting out of your comfort zone. And I love comfort. Like I loved it. I loved just the easiness of it, the happiness of it, the life it produced. But I realized like what it really cost me, like what it's cost me, like in life, like in years of my life. And yeah, it's created a great life or a good life, but it hasn't gave me peace and freedom. And so, I know for both of us getting very clear about what we want, getting clear about what we both want and what we want individually has been huge for us. And I ask people this question is, where do you want to be in a year in your body, being, balanced, business? And they're like, I have no idea. Some of them might say business, they might know, but I'm like, where do you want to be in your marriage in a year together?
Or the number one answer, happy.
Yeah, happy. And I'm like, what does that mean? And most people are like, I don't know. I'm like, well, is it more vacations? Is it more sex? Is it more money? Like, what is happiness to you? Like, all of it. Okay, well, how are you going to get that? And for years, I had no idea because I was so wrapped up in the short-term things of what I wanted that Bree had visions of big things, and I couldn't see them. Or I could see them, but I didn't know how it was possible. And I didn't have the roadmap on, hey, take it day by day. Today, we're going to stay sober, and we're going to make a phone call and talk to someone about a salon thing. Well, I couldn't handle that.
Yeah, it had to be a fight.
Yeah, it had to be a fight.
Yeah. And it's funny going through that process, you realize like, I just wanted Mark to want something. I'm like, I don't even care what it is. Just care about something. Like I care so much about the salon, the home, the kids, the whatever. And Mark's just like, they're there, they exist, whatever. And it never made me feel like he didn't love me or love our children or love even our life. I felt like he did so passionately, but there was just not like, it didn't feel like it was a desire, like almost more like an obligation due to lack of words. I don't know how else to describe it. I just said, I just want you to want something for you. I don't care what it is. If you love training and you want to be a trainer, do that. If you love golf and want to be a golfer, do that. I don't care. Just love and care about something. And it was such like a drag to want him to want something. And I was just feeling like I was pulling an anchor.
What's funny is like, well, I love cocktails. Like, that's what I would like say. That's what I would think.
I love hanging out and chilling.
Yeah. And like,
how productive is that?
Yeah. And so that's been the big thing for me in the last year is going, hey, like, is this adding value to my life? Like having cocktails, yeah, it's fine. But like me hanging out for 4 hours or 3 hours, having a cocktail, getting drunk, is that adding value to my life? No, it's not.
Yeah.
To me personally. To you, it might. But I started looking at things in my life. Hey, is this going to add value or take away? Looking at porn, is that adding value or taking away? It's taken away. Like drinking to where I get drunk or I pass out, like on the couch at 7 o'clock at night because I'm buzzed up, adding value? No, it's not. And so I started looking at those simple things like, hey, I need to go to the gym every day. That's going to add value. Me waking up at 4:30, that's going to add value. Is it hard? Yeah. It's painful? Yeah. But it's adding value, which then makes me better, which makes my marriage better, which makes everything else better. And it's like, for the longest time, I didn't want to go on date nights with my wife. I didn't want to pray with her at night because she might be pissed. She, doesn't really care for me that much. And it's like, well, no, those are the times that we need to I need to, as a man, go, hey, here's what we're doing. And I'm going to change my attitude and make this better. And for years, and sometimes even now, I got to catch myself. I can't get out of my attitude. I've been getting out of quicker. But yeah, it's changing the frame of how you think and how you've acted for so many years to something better. And so for me, it's just developing new habits and long-term goals that I know that will add value to my life. And if I need to make adjustments along the way, that's what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like you said, like the Bible verse you referenced this week and things that you've been living by that confirmed it this week. Share the verse really quick.
It was Romans 8, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but it was talking about, you can live in the flesh or you live in the spirit. And when you live in the flesh, a lot of things that are right in front of you and things that are said to you, you can't hear them. Like it falls on deaf ears. And when you're in the spirit, you see things, you're more grateful, you're able to adapt quicker. And I read that we were at the beach and I was like, oh my gosh, like that same day, a couple hours later, we're downstairs and Bree's looking through her old pictures. And, it was going back like 10 years ago and I'm looking at it and she's scrolling through all of them and I'm like, holy shit. Like I've had an amazing life, but I was living in the flesh. I had so much guilt, regret, shame, anger, jealousy, like low frequency acts. And I did it to myself. And it's been a year of just digging so deep of wounds that I have that I remember leaving class for like 5 straight months and calling Bree on the way home because it's about a 4-hour drive. And she goes, how'd it go? And I was like, oh, I got to keep doing it. And she'd be like, that's all you got out of it? And I said, you know what? I'm going to hang up the phone and I talk to you when I get 4 hours. And I would there'd be days I'd think I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
And it was just, it's like you have to spend so much time in darkness to get to the light. And I still have some darkness to uncover, to dig up, but I see the light a lot more. I'm in the spirit a lot more because of the habits. That's all it is. Like, it's all it is, man. Like, it's just getting up every day for myself, doing this for me. And then what's so cool is then Bree sees it. And then that is more attractive to Bree. And then like Bree starts working out, which in 17 years, Bree never wanted to work out.
I'd rather not eat.
Not yet. And then now she's done this and she's working out. I'm not saying that I like me going to the gym every day made her do it, but then she's more encouraged to do it because I encourage her to go along with me. And so if you're a guy or even a female out there and you want to know like, hey, how do I get a better marriage? How do I do this? Just do simple, disciplined things every single day that seem boring. And when you say it, it's boring. But I find so much satisfaction and peace, not happiness, because a lot of my habits, I have to say no to a lot of things that make me happy, like sleeping in, not going to the gym, eating donuts, like those kind of things make me happy. But I know, but I know they don't give me peace long term, and they don't give me the freedom that I want in my body and in my relationships.
Yeah, no, I can agree with everything you just said, and for us to lead by example for our children, that they look to you and live by how you live, not by what you tell them. That is the greatest testimony. And weathering some storms with my 10-year-old in sorting her thoughts and her little heart, processing life as it is with people who don't exactly think like us or act like us or do as us, and learning to love them through their process and their struggles and whatnot. It's truly amazing that she can be the way that she is, and nobody really told her she had to do that. She's just learned from where we live. And that's a great testimony, I think, for us as parents to see her stepping into being this like amazing, just spiritual little human, and that she's teaching us more every day about ourselves and how to live more Christ-like and display that to others and extend that to others. So that's super cool.
Yep. And I mean, we always talk about by your fruits ye shall know, and by your fruits. And that's why I kind of trip out when, you have like a dad that's yelling at his son to run harder, go faster, and the dad couldn't even run himself because he's so fat. You know what I'm saying? Or you get pastors that are really passionate, but then they don't treat their bodies well, or whatever it might be. And so it's like, buy your fruits. And that's one thing Bree and I have gone all in on the last 6 months of like, hey, we are going to show you guys everything. We're going to talk about everything because that's the only way that you are going to know. And then is by us sharing, and good, bad, ugly. Some people might not agree with it. Some people do agree with it. They would never share it, whatever it might be. But this is what we're called to do, and because we have seen and felt and discovered the peace of when we are both wanting to go in the same direction. Maybe it's not the exact thing the other person wants, but at least we're going in the same direction, and we're going together. And
I think it's a mutual respect for each of us are on our journey, and then choose to align to do it together. Where my journey is my own and Mark's journey is his own, and exposing, like Mark said, the darkness, exposing the wounds, willingly and openly exposing that to others isn't like, look at us and what we've done. It's, hey, you're not alone. And we can be honest with each other from what we have come from to what we are now, to offer hope to others who can restore and repair a marriage that was very broken. And there was so much pain and anger and resentment I had built up in my heart that I never knew I could overcome. I really doubted that it was possible at one point in 2019, at the lowest of lows in my marriage, 2020, hitting a rock bottom and coming to a realization that we can't just change, but we have to transform, and I can't do it for Mark. And I know a lot of women that feel that way in a marriage, that you feel like you are the only bit holding it together. And for the longest time, that was me, holding all these broken pieces together and getting to a place where it's not that I couldn't do it anymore. I set a very clear expectation that I'm not doing it anymore, because I want more for me and my kids, and believe it or not, you dirtbag. And getting through those hard times, I learned to love him so passionately and trust him in a way that I hadn't maybe ever. So now exposing this to the world is not the Bree and Mark show. It's the look what God can do for you also. If you are at any place relatable to where we were, we want to offer that hope and peace to people, because a lot of times the world leads you to believe just get a divorce, it's easier. And it is, but it may not be the right answer. So There you have it. It's a deep one today, but really Mark and I are digging deeper and exposing more in this season. And as we do that, we're having consultation calls. I feel like where women are just where I was, and men where Mark was. And it's a real life place, and there is hope to restore it and repair. And I love that now this is our message we're able to share with people, and that God is working through us. And it's not at all us. It's everything, the power that he's given us to transfer that energy. It's been awesome.
Yeah. I would agree with all that. And if you are on YouTube, please hit subscribe and give us a like. If you're listening to any other on a podcast platform, Spotify, Apple, anything like that, please give us a like and a subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. And we will keep it coming next week. And so thank you for listening. God is good.
All the time.
All the time. And we are out.